Hey guys, welcome to the Manhattan Project. In today's video, I'll be covering the Dota 2 hero guide to playing Lycan. Lycan is a strength carry hero who's incredibly strong and who excels at split pushing and taking control of the map, but requires a bit of micro skill to get the full benefit from his items and abilities. When it comes down to it, there are 3 key points that makes Lycan extremely good. Number 1, Lycan is one of the absolute most potent pushers in the game. His ability to use his summons to push is unparalleled at almost all stages of the game. Number 2, Lycan can transition from lane into the jungle very easily, which is able to free up farming space for the supports on his team, as well as help him recover from a rough early laning stage. The third and final reason that makes Lycan so good is his ability to kill Roshan very early, right around the 10 to 15 minute mark. To start off, Lycan is a strength-based hero who is first and foremost a pusher, but definitely can carry as well. 3 of his 4 skills are best suited for pushing, and your itemization needs should be focused on pushing as well. Lycan typically is strongest in the mid-game when he's between levels 10 and 18. Therefore, it's crucial that he's able to hit his item timing during this period in order to be most effective. Let's begin with Lycan's hero attributes, and then we'll follow that up with his skill build. Lycan begins the game with a relatively high amount of base attack damage, from 58 to 63, along with average attack speed, making him a strong level 1 DPSer. In addition to this, Lycan starts with an armor rating of 3.24, making level 1 trading all the more advantageous for him, especially if you choose to pick up an early ring of protection for an additional +2 armor. Lycan has above average movement speed and starts with the OK stats of 25 strength, 16 agility, and 17 intelligence. He then gains 3 strength, 1 agility, and 1.55 intelligence per level. Overall, Lycan has an extremely poor agility and intelligence stat gain, but makes up for it with the 6th highest strength gain and the proper stat itemization later in the game. On to Lycan's skill build. At level 1, you should take your 3rd skill, Feral Impulse. It's a passive ability that will provide you with a bit of HP regen and 15% bonus damage, which equates to about 9 to 10 physical damage at level 1, depending on your starting item choices. This is a very solid addition to an already strong amount of level 1 damage. All in all, this brings your level 1 damage to around 70, and combined with an early Quelling Blade, you'll be dishing out around 95 damage to creeps at level 1. From there, you want to focus on maxing out your first skill, Summon Wolves, by level 7. Skill Feral Impulse again at level 4, and take your ultimate Shapeshift at level 6. Your wolves are your bread and butter when it comes to your versatility. With only 1 skill point, your wolves are relatively weak, having only 200 HP and dealing only 18 physical damage on a 1.25 base attack time. They do also have an 80% magic damage resistance, so the only way your opponents can really deal with them is through right clicks. By the time they're maxed out, however, your wolves will become one of the strongest summons in the entire game, having 320 HP and dealing 46 damage on a faster 1.2 BAT. In addition to increasing their health and damage, at level 3 wolves gain the passive Cripple, which gives them a 20% chance to do 8 magic damage per second and slow enemy attack speed by 60 points over 4 seconds. This passive makes summoning wolves absolutely critical when you're man-fighting your opponents, as it gives you a significant right-click advantage. At level 4, the wolves also gain permanent invisibility, which makes them useful for scouting and map vision later into the game. Your ultimate Shapeshift transforms you into a wolf for 18 seconds and gives you 650 movement speed, 1000 bonus night vision, and a 40% chance to land a critical strike that does 140 damage with 1 skill point. Because of the insane move speed advantage his ultimate provides, Lycan is definitely able to use it in the early game to net himself some kills or even take Roshan. Later in the game, his ultimate stays relevant by increasing the crit damage to 180% and more importantly by allowing all of his summons to also travel with 650 movement speed. After you finish maxing out your wolves and skilling your ultimate, you want to then max Feral Impulse for a 4041 build by level 9. With 4 skill points, Feral Impulse will give you and your controlled units 48% more damage and plus 10 HP regen per second. At level 10, skill your talent for either 150 HP or plus 15 damage. This talent is definitely the most situational of his talents and will depend on what you feel you need more of in each particular game. However, the plus 15 damage is chosen 3 times more often than the extra 150 HP and boasts a 2% win rate advantage. From here, you'll focus on taking your second skill, Howl, at level 11 and scaling your ultimate at level 12. Howl allows you to push harder as well as DPS better thanks to the flat bonuses of damage and HP that it adds to Lycan, his allies, and all units or summons under your team's control. Be mindful that this effect is doubled during nighttime, so make sure to take advantage of this often overlooked part of the skill when taking down towers or battling Roshan. At level 15, you'll want to take your second talent of either plus 12 strength or minus 25 seconds off of your respawn time. For this talent, I'd advise taking the bonus strength as it boasts a 4% win rate advantage over respawn time, and it makes Lycan hit his timing even harder. At level 16, you'll want to finish maxing out Howl, and at level 18 max your ultimate Shapeshift. Your talent ability at level 20 is really going to depend on how your particular game is going, but the 15% cooldown reduction has a 2.5% better win rate than the 15% evasion. Finally, at level 25, you have 2 very good talents to choose from, either summoning 2 additional wolves with your first skill, or a 15-second increase on the duration of your ultimate Shapeshift. In my opinion, both talents are very solid choices, especially considering that the cooldown reduction from your level 20 talent helps both of these out by a good amount. This talent again will depend on your particular game. However, the 2 additional wolves has a 2.9 win rate advantage. Now that we've covered Lycan's skill build, let's move on to his item build. At the start of the game, I recommend you pick up a set of tangos, a healing salve, a ring of protection, and a stout shield. These items will give you all the tankiness and sustainability that you'll need to stay in lane by providing 860 points of HP regen, a 16 damage block, and plus 2 bonus to your armor. A minute or 2 into the game, you should also pick up a Quelling Blade, as it gives you a significant damage bonus of plus 24 against creeps in the early stages, and allows for a smoother transition into the jungle as well. Your mid-game items on Lycan are where you can have the most variation and depend primarily on your situation game to game. Generally speaking, however, a strong mid-game build goes as follows: building a Ring of Basilius for early game mana regen and a bit of bonus damage, into power treads to allow you to farm much more efficiently, then getting a headdress and combining it with the Basilius to finish off with a Vladimir's Offering. The aura from Vlad's will increase the strength of your hero and your summons tremendously, and give you all the sustainability that you could need for the early game. Finally, you'll want to get a Necronomicon level 3 as early as possible, as this is your primary pushing tool. The bonus strength and intelligence are nice from this item, but its true advantage comes from the fact that every 90 seconds, which can be lowered by your talent ability at level 20, you'll be able to summon 2 archer and warrior units that dish out a ton of DPS and last 40 seconds. By Necro level 3, they'll have 900 HP, attack for 120 damage a hit, both have a mana break, and the archer will provide a 9% move speed and a plus 15 attack speed aura that will benefit your other summons as well. These 3 items will provide you with ample amounts of pushing power, sustainability, and give you the overall ability to farm basically anywhere on the map. However, there are some other items that can be options you could pick up. Helm of the Dominator offers more versatility in each game than Vlad's, due to the fact that it allows you to control jungle creeps. For example, you can get a 30% damage bonus aura when you dominate an Alpha Wolf, a 12% move speed aura if you dominate a Kobold Foreman, and a plus 6 HP regen aura if you dominate a large satyr. Each of these auras is in addition to the auras the item already provides of a plus 10 attack speed and plus 8 HP regeneration, the last of which is over twice the amount provided from a Vlad's. Another item you could pick up is a Medallion of Courage, which would help you farm more efficiently and also allow for a faster timing to kill Roshan by using its active to take away 7 armor from enemy units or heroes. Finally, another item you could purchase is an Echo Saber. This item synergizes very well with your ultimate ability because of its movement slow and second attack. This really highlights the strength of the maximum move speed and the 40% crit chance that your ultimate provides. The reason that these items are optional, despite how good their effects are, is because of their cost. While they allow you to be very strong early, getting both a Vlad's and a Helm of the Dominator, for instance, are too expensive together when you compare them to other more important items for Lycan. Their high cost pushes back the item timing of your Necrobook, which is your game-changing item, and are therefore not worth the cost. They also take away item slots, which can be used on more important purchases later. As you transition from your early mid-game items to the later stages of the game, you again have some options. First off, I highly recommend picking up a BKB. This item solves most of the issues you'll have during teamfights that comes from the enemy's lockdown. The more stuns that the enemy team has, the more necessary this item becomes. After BKB, I like to transition into either a Basher into Abyssal Blade or an AC. I think that in most games, you should get both of these items. However, the order that you get them in depends on the situation. Basher or Abyssal will solve one of your only major problems that Lycan has, in that he can't lock down enemy heroes. I go for one of these if I haven't been able to split push that well, or if there are simply a lot of engagements with the enemy team, due to its amazing attack speed aura of plus 25 and bonus plus 5 armor auras that it applies to your team and your summons, and its minus 5 enemy hero and building armor reduction. Finally, here are just a few more suggestions of items to pick up later in the game. Boots of Travel allow you to be much more mobile on the map. They also let you seamlessly transition from teamfights directly into applying pressure on the enemy tower or barracks. Bloodthorn is a fantastic item against enemy spellcasters, or when you need additional damage thanks to its 20% bonus crit chance and an extra 30% damage done during the silence duration against single target heroes, such as heroes like Spectre, who rely on mobility and is a stronger carry than you are in the later stages of the game. Heart of Tarask is simply your go-to tank item if you feel that you're dying too easily in the late game, or if the enemy team has large amounts of damage over time. Shiva's Guard synergizes extremely well with AC thanks to its active, which lowers the attack and movement speed of enemy heroes. Finally, MKB is a terrific counter against heroes with built-in evasion, such as Phantom Assassin, or those who would normally purchase a butterfly like Shadow Fiend. Now that I've covered Lycan's skill and item builds at length, let's talk about how he should be played. To start the game off, you should get the bottom bounty rune and then head to the safe lane. At level 1, your wolves aren't very strong and will use up the majority of your mana pool if you cast them. So just focus on last hitting and efficiently trading until you can hit level 3 and are able to get your wolves to level 2. From there, you'll be able to pretty much zone and harass your opponent out of the lane if he or she is solo. If you're against an aggressive dual lane or an aggressive tri-lane, just try your best to farm and sap levels, while allowing your supports to focus on zoning so that you can make the most out of a contested lane. A good tip to maximize your farm in a lane like this would be to make the most of using creep aggro tricks. By the time that you're able to farm up to your power treads and at least a headdress, you can begin to put some serious pressure on your opponent's offlane tower, or get an early pickoff or two. If you or your supports have done a good job of zoning the enemy offlaner, then he shouldn't have much gold at this point, and you can easily pop your ultimate and run down most opponents for an easy kill. From there, you can start on the offlane tier 1 tower. If you're able to take the tower by at least 10 minutes, that's fantastic. However, if your opponents rotate to defend against you, don't overextend or commit and cause yourself to die. Instead, simply fall back into your jungle and farm up until they leave your lane or head somewhere else on the map. At least you've been able to cause rotations and have therefore created space for your allies across the rest of the map. Hopefully, if everything is going well, you'll be able to pick up your Vlads right around 10 minutes, give or take a few minutes as well. As soon as you have this, you're able to either team up with a couple of allies and apply pressure on a tower somewhere on the map, or you'll be able to smoke up and take an early Roshan, which will give your team a seriously good advantage in the early mid-game. From here, continue applying pressure to towers across the map, and before 20 minutes hit, hopefully you've already killed a tier 2 tower, or at least take out the outer tier 1 towers, and give your team a map advantage. Once you're able to pick up your Necrobook sometime around the 20 to 25 minute mark, communicate with your teammates and start sieging down any of the towers that are still up. If you're able to win a fight around this time, quickly transition it into a high ground push where you'll be able to take down an enemy barracks. In any fights, don't be afraid to pop both your ultimate and your Necrobook and chase down enemy supports before cleaning up other heroes. Your main goals in the mid to late game center on taking fights where your team has an advantage and then taking objectives. By the time you're able to get at least 2 different sets of your opponent's barracks taken down, you should be in pretty good shape. Another strategy you can use if you just can't break your opponent's high ground or are just caught in a game of cat and mouse is to use your summon units to siege down towers. Necro units alongside wolves and ally creeps can make short work of towers if not dealt with, and sometimes your opponents will get out of position to try and deal with them, which is a great opportunity for an easy pickoff. If things have gone poorly for your team in the game, don't be afraid to not come to a fight, and instead split push as hard as you can into the enemy base. No other hero can compare to Lycan's pushing potential, and without a reaction from the other team, you'll end up with a free barracks most of the time. Last but not least, let's just go over some of the heroes that counter Lycan, some of the heroes that are very beneficial allies, and when it's a good time to pick Lycan. Let's start off with the heroes he's weakest to. You shouldn't pick Lycan against heroes with large amounts of physical AoE and lockdown, such as Axe or Sven. Both of these heroes usually build blink daggers and are therefore able to jump Lycan very easily. Axe is especially damaging because he's able to use your summons against you by calling them and causing him to get more counter helix spins off. Sven is able to burst down Lycan very easily due to his ability to cleave through his summons using his ultimate God Strength. Lycan is also not good against offlaners such as Slardar or Timber, who are able to harass him in lane and jump him to deal large amounts of damage. Slardar relies on his team to follow up his initiation though, but Timber can easily solo Lycan in the early game if he hits his 6 before Lycan does. Finally, picking Lycan against heroes who have stuns or roots that go through spell immunity can be potentially dangerous, especially if you're your team's only primary carry. The other team will focus you a lot. These heroes include Batrider with his ultimate Flaming Lasso, Bane with his ultimate Fiend's Grip, and Treant Protector with his ultimate Overgrowth. Now let's talk about some of the heroes who synergize well with Lycan. These are for the most part going to include aggressive space creators and other pushers. Some of the best space creators to play alongside Lycan include Puck, Nyx Assassin, and Storm Spirit. All of these heroes are able to make space for Lycan to split push, take Roshan, and help set up early pickoffs to start team pushes. Other split pushers and heroes with auras are some of Lycan's favorite heroes to play alongside. Heroes like Nature's Prophet, Chen, Broodmother, and Beastmaster are fantastic alongside Lycan because all of their summons gain bonus damage and health from Howl, as well as Lycan's own summons. This drastically improves their individual pushing potential and their ability to take objectives as a team. Lycan also especially benefits from Chen and Beastmaster because the aura from Chen's creeps can benefit his own, and Beastmaster's passive aura, Inner Beast, will provide Lycan summons with bonus attack speed. Last but not least, Lycan also likes to play with heroes who have long duration hard lockdowns due to his own lack of a disable. Heroes with these are both some of his other counters and his synergistic allies. These include Bane, Batrider, and Beastmaster. Lastly, let's quickly recap and talk about when it's best to pick Lycan. Lycan is a great pickup if your team doesn't have a carry yet and doesn't have much split push potential. If your team already has some playmakers but no follow-up or ability to take objectives, or if the other team doesn't have the lockdown or DPS needed to counter him. Well guys, that's it for my in-depth analysis of Lycan. Personally, he's one of my favorite heroes to play and a recent go-to pick many of the times that I play the carry position. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, and if you want more Dota 2 videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Catch you next time.